welcome to a little live show we threw together at the last minute. It's called, I'm going to just call this one tonight RantLine. It's a rant line. We're going to be ranting tonight about stuff. My name is Jay Christie. I am the former studio manager out at the El Cajon studio for KNSJ FM. I've been involved with this project for more than 2 years. I was there at the opening, the first time they tried to do anything live when the former mayor showed up on the 4th of July. And so I've been with the project that long. And what I'd like to do this evening is have a phone-in show. Tony, what's our phone-in number? We don't have a phone-in number. So I'm going to have to, it's not working this time. Okay, it's not working. So if you want to phone in, I guess I'm going to have to use my phone, which is, I will tell you when I'm ready to deal with you, unfortunately. So anyway, yeah, we did this kind of loosey-goosey, seeing we can do a live show at night, and we're now doing a live show at night. All right, so part one. My background, for those who don't know, I was, and that's probably most of the people who are listening, the last time I did anything live on this radio station was 6 months ago when we were testing, more than 6 months ago, testing. But my background was with Radioactive. I used to be Radioactive Radio, which was still out there. If you use Wayback Machine, it's www. Radioactive. That's Romeo, Alpha, Dog, India, Omega, capital A, C, TIVE, so it's radioactive.org, and they were a bunch of people that lived off of Boundary Street. They worked out of a trailer that they purchased off of eBay, and the funny thing was it was in a carport in a collection of condominiums, and this place was in a collection of condominiums, and we were what would happen is if it rained, they'd push the trailer out far enough so they could have a party space behind it, a meeting space, which they would also have parties at, which was really goofy. But the actual area that we would do the actual radio in was open to the sky. So when it rained, it bounced off the trailer's roof. So yeah, there are recordings out there on the internet. My show was the Underground Show. That piece of music you heard at the beginning was a little piece by the Slovenian band Laibach, back when it was still a Republic of Yugoslavia. The name of the piece is Tiki Izivaš Outro. Tiki Izivaš means you who are strongest, I believe, in Serbian or Slovenian. And it's a nice little like industrial use of the old Psycho theme. So what we're doing tonight is, this show is just going to be a once-a-month thing. Once a month. If it really picks up, I'll do it twice. My schedule at the present time does not allow for me to do this as a weekly thing. We chose this time, and if you're listening to the show and you're angry that you can't hear, and the guy we preempted, I'm sorry. We chose the show thinking there was nothing going on. There was no time, the time was open and free and wild. So we decided, okay, we're going to do this, and we did it, and now we're here. So what the show is we were hoping that the phones would be working. We're going to do call-ins on the phone, a call-in line. And tonight our subject is SDSU. I am, unfortunately, been a long-time student. I didn't plan it that way, but it just worked out that way. So I became a student of San Diego State. And my thing was that it was a real pain in the neck to get in there. And since I've been in there, it's been a real struggle to stay in there because of the way it is. So what I'd like to do, after talking about some of the elements of things that I was not very happy about concerning San Diego State, is take calls. They'll have to be on a cell phone. Don't curse, please. Do we have the dropper button? We don't have the dropper, but what do we have, Tony? What do we have? A lot of hope. Okay, that's good. That's good. We always have hope. So anyway, yeah, we're down here at the SD Hippie Shack and in the back on Whiteman Street. And we're going to be talking about SDSU, and wish I had some sort of like SDSU music, but I don't. So we're going to talk about that right this moment. So one of the things, if you're a student at SDSU, and my relationship with SDSU is long and complicated, and I should have spoken more about my time at Radioactive to fill the time, but my relationship with SDSU is a long, complicated, ridiculous mess. I've been trying to get in there for many, many years, and it shouldn't be that hard because they have my major. My major is non-technical. I won't give out my major because I'm kind of paranoid about that. Just like I'm not going to give out my ham radio license, and I am an amateur radio operator, because when you get a ham radio license, you have to put down an address for the FCC to get to you, and it's my address. I don't have a P.O. box, and so if you give out your ham radio license, it's like whatever it is, people will. It's all there on the internet because it's public record. So, yeah, that's why I don't talk about I am an amateur radio operator. And I come from an electronic background. My father worked out at North Island as an aircraft avionics technician, so I was used to soldering and fooling around with electronic junk, and that's why I got it. I've always been interested with the idea of radio. It's like magic. You turn on a little box, and suddenly voices and music come out of it, and it's not plugged. It's not plugged into the wall, and it's not off a record, or it's not off of a CD or MP3 file or anything like that. And somebody who's as old as I am, that was kind of magical when I was a kid. It's no longer magical because the internet has robbed it like it's robbed everything else. But there you go. But back to SDSU. See, I get off on tangents. That's why my show was so long. I used to do a show. When I did the show, the underground show, if you find it on the internet, it'll probably be on Electronic Intifada. If Electronic Intifada still has, if Electronic Intifada is still keeping its files out there, they'll be on an MP3 or OGG. Or maybe it'll be on WAV because it was 2004, so they might be out as WAV files. So I don't know, but what they were, that show would last for hours and hours and hours and hours. I mean, I could fill endless amounts of time on that show. But back to SDSU. One of the real problems, if you're an SDSU student right now, is they are constructing the living snot out of everything. They demolish stuff constantly. The thing that really ticks me off right now is they decided last year to utterly demolish the industrial engineering building. And I've heard no one speak against it. No one in the media speak against it. The student body didn't speak against it. Because what they're going to do is they're going to build a building that looks just like the building that's next to it. And the building that's next to it is Hepner Hall. And Hepner Hall is built in that classic quote-unquote SDSU style, which is this kind of Greek seaport, Spanish stucco wall and green framed windows and tile roof. Now that's nice, but you don't have to have a college that looks like everything. Because I also went elsewhere for my education. I went to 3 community colleges. I came from Cuyamaca, went to Grossmont, went to San Diego City College, for reasons I don't want to get into. It was academic. But, yeah. And I also went out to Temple University for reasons that are academic, and I really don't want to talk about because it kind of distracts from the argument of SDSU as what we're talking about. So I have a load of credits, and I'm coming to SDSU, and what I'm seeing here, having been elsewhere, is a culture with the construction of a real conformism to the way this stuff looks. It all looks like a giant, how would you put it, Club Med. It looks like a resort complex, not a college. Because usually with a college, they have one building that was built in 1942, and that'll be in that old style. There'll be one building that'll be built in the, how is that? Are you in there? Are we in there? Oh, you're talking. Okay, okay then. So at any rate, I've never had an engineer. That's the other thing. I used to do all this stuff myself. So there's the first one. The back to point one, over construction. So we have too many buildings being knocked down, and a lot of back forth, up and down concerning that construction. The Industrial Arts Building did not look like any of the buildings around it, which really ticked me off, because there's the Industrial Arts Building, and it's right across from the Engineering Building. The Engineering Building's built in like 1963 version of International Modernist. The building next to Industrial Arts on the other side was built in the 1940s, and it's built because as I said, it was an extension of Hepner Hall. So Hepner Hall is built on this sort of Spanish, I call it Greco-Spanish because it kind of looks either like Greek coastal town, either a Greek coastal town kind of buildings. They're all white. They're supposed to look like they were whitewashed, and they have green door frames, and they have tile roofs, and they all look, this whole entire Hepner Hall complex looks alike. The Industrial Arts Building was extremely modern, and now that's gone because they don't want it anymore. And they're going to build this other Industrial Arts Building, which will be for the students, which, hooray for the students who want to do that. That's fine. But to build a building that looks like every other building just strikes me as incredibly idiotic, because it's like it sort of encourages a conformism. And the present president of SDSU, and I can't remember his name, what I've noticed is that he's been going on this building tear. I mean, it's not only just the Industrial Arts Building. There was the gutting of Storm and Nassatir. Storm and Nassatir was where the Geography Annex was. And they tore down the Geography Annex. They had a Geography Annex. They tore the Geography Annex down. I can't remember where they went on the campus. Geography Annex was torn down, replaced by a coffee shop. It was replaced by a Starbucks. A two-story academic building was torn down so they could build a Starbucks. And then down the street, there was this little dinky coffee shack or across from the art building. And this thing, this little coffee house, this coffee kiosk, that's been shut down completely. And it's been dead for like 2 years. It's going on 2 years. We're coming to the end of this year, 2015. And it's been gone for like 2 years. And they haven't taken it away, and they haven't replaced it with anything. It's just dead. It's dead, and it was, it has a patio sort of set up, and it has chairs, and people used to sit out there and sip coffee behind the nurses. What used to be the nurses' training school, which is below the tower. I can't remember the name of the tower, the clock tower. That everybody, it's behind the stereotypical San Diego, the gates of Hepner Hall, and you walk all the way to the back, and there's that tower, Hardy Tower, that's the name of it. Hardy Tower, where they found the murals like a year and a half ago, and they're doing work on that, and that ticks the students off really badly, because they used to use the staircase, because there's no, it's a multi-story building, and there's only one way up. It's like the staircase, you either have an inner staircase or an outer staircase, and they wanted to, if they want to, run up, they have to either take the elevator or take the inner staircase. People wanted to take the inner staircase, and they're still working on it. It's been like 2 years. And in California construction time, and this is for the people who are listening to this, who may be in Australia or in Philadelphia or whatever, and I, as somebody who was at Temple University, I've seen how Philadelphia builds, and it builds very slowly. It builds well, but it builds very slowly. When I was there at Temple University, and I was in 2006, 2007, I saw the construction of Alter Hall, which was in the annex of the Fox Business School. I think that was the name of it, Fox Business School. And it took them, this was an addition. It was like a multi-story addition, but it was still pretty small. For the longest time, I used to call it Alter Hole, because that's what it was. It was a hole with fence around it, and then, it made it hard to get to certain classes, and it was already hard enough to deal with Temple, because you have to climb stairs or take an elevator packed with 16 people because of the way the structure of the campus was and how they dealt with the liberal arts and the English department and so on. So that was what you did. You had to either suffered for it or you didn't. But yeah, the construction, the way the construction has been going on is just nuts. And the thing with Storm and Nassater that I was bringing up was they used to have a connector. They used to have an annex between the two buildings. And those buildings are built in the 1950s. And they were packed full of asbestos. And they sealed off the asbestos in probably they knew that asbestos was bad by the early 60s. They sealed it. They really did their darndest to seal it so that no one could breathe it. But even then, there was that office, and you'll find that if you Google, like Nassater Hall or Storm Hall, cancer, brain cancer, the poli-sci students, the grad students, worked out of a room in that annex, that connector, and they all started getting brain cancer like 10 years ago. And they all tracked it back to these students. If you were a student there, you had a higher incidence of brain tumorage. So when they had to rebuild Storm and Nassater, and then what they always said was, oh, it's an energy hog. It gobbles up so much energy. It's HVAC's ancient and blah, blah, blah. They always say that. They gutted it. They tore down that portion completely. The connector is gone. Storm and Nassater are now two freestanding buildings. They used to be one connected, so it was like a reverse 4 or an upside down H. That sort of thing, or the Cyrillic ch, but turned the other way. So yeah, that was a thing, and it's like there was some talk about this, and one of the reasons that I brought this up, made this the topic of RantLine, Jake Christie rants for an hour, is that the reason that I made this the issue is because the media doesn't really talk about SDSU. They don't talk about SDSU. They don't talk about UCSD, and they should be. They really should be focusing more than the occasional puff piece about whenever the fraternities are caught, selling dope or some stupid thing. Because there's a lot of interesting stuff that's going on that campus. I have questions, really. My next point is that seems to be this really idiotic dorm culture that's emerged. It's not a frat culture, it's a dorm culture. The people who live there, the people who seem to commute, don't wear SDSU clothing. The people who do live there, they all wear, it's like a stereotype. You'll see the males wearing those hoodie jackets with the SDSU. They buy them out of the bookstore. And that's the other thing that really ticks me off is the bookstore. The bookstore really just gets on my nerves because the books are on the second story and the stuff that's on the first floor is all the fluff. And I didn't go to college for the fluff. Maybe I'm a type A personality. I don't know. I don't think I am. But it's all the first floor, the ground floor, Grundlage, is selling laptops, iPads, pad devices on one side. Then there's coffee mugs and jewelry and clothes, and it's all branded SDSU. So you'll see women who are they're like at track meets, they're always wearing the SDS clothes. They're always in the colors of SDSU, which if you don't know the colors of San Diego State, they're black and white. I mean, God, it's black and red. The colors of Castilian anarchism, CNT FAI, those are the two colors. The colors of the Spanish Civil War, the anarchists in Spain, their color scheme has been adopted, ripped off really by SDSU, and turned into this monster, this red and black Aztec monster. And they haven't gotten rid of the name Aztec. That's another thing. We had a vote to get rid of the name Aztec, and they're not getting rid of the Aztec thing at all. That's the last I heard. I may be wrong. Call in and yell when I let calls happen. But they were supposed to get rid of this, and they didn't. They put it to a vote, and the people who voted said, I'm going to keep it, and it's stuck. So that leads me to my other, because I have ABC, I have a list of things I'm ranting about. the warped priorities, which I think I've brought up before. You know, is it a university or is it a gym? Is it a gym membership thing? Because if it is, then you just give up doing the academics at all. Because I'm telling you, seriously, the part of the school where they actually do the academics is the least crowded. The part of the school where they actually have a gym and a running track and all that other stuff, that everybody's there. It's like you can tell not only the age of the people. So you look for gray hairs and you look for middle-aged body types, but if you look at the students, you'll notice the majority, the young people, the people who are in there who've just come in, the freshmen and the sophomores, they are there to run the track. They are there to climb the rock climbing wall, which there's a line around the block every time I go and look at it. There's this massive line. So, you know, is it a gym? Because if it's a gym, it's a gym. Use it as a gym. Or is it a school? Because there should be a distinction. There should be a distinction to all colleges. Are you there for the school or are you there to fool around? Now, I mean, in certain cultures, like, say, Japan's, people go to school, they really grind them from grade school to high school. Then when you get out of high school, you go to college, and it's a massive drinking session. Everybody sloughs off in college in Japan, or they used to. I don't know if it's changed. When we call and tell us what's going to happen. So if Japan's changed. But my understanding of Japanese college culture is that the kids go there to have a good time. They learn, they get good grades, but they're not, it's not like the cram school craziness of their high school, pre-high school years. And that's the question we have to ask. Are we there for the learning, or are we there just to have a good time? Because you can have a good time far cheaper. If you're not there to learn, I don't know what the point is. I know that there's a lot of societal pressure on people to go to college because it's considered the only way out. But I know that it isn't. I know there are other ways of doing it. We should be asking ourselves the question, do we really want to let the colleges go the way they're going? Because as it is, all I can see is there's like this 2-3-tiered system where, I mean, there already is a 2-tiered kind of system in college where it's like the Ivies are the top and the state schools are at the bottom. And below that are the tech school, like ITT Tech and what's that? Bowling Alley College used to be, the Coleman College, or now Coleman University. And that's at the bottom. ITT Tech, Coleman College, they're at the bottom. At the middle are the state schools. At the top are these Ivy League schools. And even between them, the question is, are we going to let elitism and stupidity rule the day, or are we going to actually deal with academics? Are we actually going to try to build a thinking culture? Because it doesn't seem to be a thinking culture. When I'm there at SDSU, it always seems like everybody would rather be out doing something else. And that means what I mean to say is that really you don't have to be a grind, as they say in the Naval Academy. You don't have to be a grind. You don't have to constantly keep your nose to the grindstone. They call people grinds in Annapolis. The person who's always with a nose in a book and always very serious and so on. You know, but the question we have to ask ourselves is, what are we doing? And what are we doing with the colleges in general? But at SDSU, what is their focus? Is their focus academics, or is their focus a gym ratting? Because if it's gym ratting, they can the native San Diegans, they can do it a lot cheaper elsewhere. They can go out and get a gym membership at some place and do gym there. If you're there for the actual academics, you know, what are you doing? That's my question. Is the phone working, Tony? We still do not have a working. Should I open the line or not? Should I use my cell phone in your opinion as a former BBC television engineer? Okay, so all right, let's see if this thing works because my phone is wonky. So our number is 619-201-6924. Call me 619-201-6924. Your experiences. I want to hear from the SDSU people. I want to hear from the graduates. I want to hear from the people who are going there. I want to hear from the angry guy who I'm sure I'm taking over his show, and I've been taking over his show since 8:05, and I know he's got a 2-hour show if it's actually the thing. We want to hear from these people. We want to hear from anybody concerning college, because my route, as I said, was through community college, from community college to the 4-year schools. So I did my time before I did 4-year school. So I was in this, this odd world, the odd world of community college, which is kind of like high school meets going to some sort of technical. It's like some sort of symposium of technical people, but it isn't. It's just it's odd going to community college. It's not the same thing as going to an actual college. It seems to me that like the mindset is just radically different when you get to a 4-year school as opposed to a 2-year school. When I was going, I would always see there would always be lifers. There were loads of lifers, and I would see those people vanish over time. And there were loads of lifers, and I became a lifer, and I did not want to be a lifer, but I was a lifer nonetheless. And I really did not want to be one. So you got that crowd of people, and then there were people who were always either dropping out or transferring, and they were transferring to, or they were graduating and then transferring. And that had been my goal. I was going to go to community college for 2 years, go to San Diego State because it had my major, and just move on with my life. That didn't happen because of my academic problem, which I don't want to get into. I was stuck for years. I was going around in circles, taking the same class and then taking side classes in order to keep my grade point average while I was getting through this class, because nobody in the community college, even though I had documentation concerning this issue, they would not in any way, shape, or form bend. They would never bend. It was always, you've got to get through this, Jake. You've got to do this. And they would do they had different versions of the same class, and it was nonsense. So that's it. We want to hear from you. As the late, great Dr. Eugene Scott used to say, get on the telephone. The number is 619-201-6924. So that's 619-201-6924. Let me check that again just to see if I bunged that up. So, no. Yeah, it's 619-201-6924. So that's 619-201-6924. Please call us 619-201-6924, because otherwise it's just going to be me rambling like a jackass for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I don't. Is that legal to say jackass on the air or not? Okay, because I don't want to, because we don't have the cuss button, and because my problem is I do the Tom Sharpling thing, where if you curse once, you start cursing all the time, and then you have to bleep it out. Yes, I am a fan of The Best Show. Tom Sharpling's brilliant little. It was a WFMU show, and then it's now a podcast. This show, The Best Show, you can hear it at www or whiskey.thebestshow. That's Tango, Hilo, Echo, Beta, Echo, Sierra, Tango, Sierra, Hilo, Omega, whiskey.com. That's Carrie, Omega, Mike. The Best Show. Best show. I think it's thebestshow.net. But anyway, just look up Tom Sharpling. That's SCHARPLING. He's on YouTube. His show. There's a guy named R. Reynolds who has an account. That's Romeo Reynolds, REYNOLDS, and he has a YouTube account, and he runs bits of Tom Sharpling's show, and it's hilarious. And he's been doing it for since. He started doing a show back in 97, and he ran into Worcester around that time, and they said, we're going to do a show. And because he'd already done a show at WFMU in out there in New Jersey. They said, okay, we'll let you do the show, and they built an entire comedic world around the fictional city of Newbridge, New Jersey, with John Worster of Superchunk calling in and doing these weird voices and these strange characters, and it's the most hilarious thing. So it's out there, the best show, and I'm a fan of it. And yeah, that's why I don't curse. That's one of the if I started what? Oh, Dane called and complained. Why didn't you? Oh, well, then Dane, if you want to call me, you got to call 619-201-6924. Yeah, 619-201-6924. It's 201-6924. You will be on speakerphone, so on a Samsung that I have to get I'm getting a new phone. It's a Net 10 burner phone, so it's cheapy and nasty, but it works. So call me, brother. Call me and yell at me, but don't curse because we don't have the curse button. You're being rescheduled to 9, comrade. You are being rescheduled to 9. We have 25 minutes of me ranting like a maniac because this is Jake Christie's Rant Hour or RantLine or Rant something on KNSJ FM 89.1 Descanso. You can hear us on KNSJ.org if you're listening, or if you were just turned off by my voice, then we have no listeners at all. I don't care. I'm posting this stuff I'm recording it and posting it on YouTube anyway. So there you go. Is my laptop still running, comrade? Okay, we're good. So anyway, back to the topic of SDSU. I really love the library, and it's ironic because the name of the library is Love Library. Very good library. Love it. Like the magazines have gotten worse. You could find some really obscure European left-wing journals that they don't do that anymore. A lot of that is they ran out of money because they have to deal with the state, and I've noticed that with all of them because that's how I got a lot of my political education was in community college, reading magazines and reading books and talking to people, and it was fascinating. I learned a lot, but I didn't have to, really you don't have to pay for that. You could have just hung around, but that's what I did. But then when I was in community college, it was cash and carry. It was not you pay a lot of money and then you sign away your soul for 20 years. That's the other thing. That's the other thing that disturbs me is the student loan element, which I should have brought up, because that's going to go away. It's doomed. The student loans are doomed. They can't do that. You can't get blood out of a rock. You squeezed and squeezed and squeezed until the rock has become a diamond. You can't get any more blood out of it. You'll just get air. You'll get nothing. Zippo, nada, zilch, bupkis, nishvo, nothing. There's going to have to be, and I know that they've taken over some of these loans, but I had loans with people like My Rich Uncle, which got taken away and traded off to other people. I stupidly got a loan with Sally Mae for a summer class when I was up at Temple, and I still owe money on that summer class, which I will have to pay back. And I'm looking about trying to get a federal job because both of my parents work for the federal government, so I know how the federal government works. So that's my long-winded thing about that. So please call us 201-6924, area code 619. We're here in the Hippie Shack at ASD House on Whiteman Street. So, yeah, we're doing that. Do you want to do a musical break, Tony? All right, let's do a musical break while we wait for the people to call.
I was a miner, I was a docker, I was a railwayman between the wars. I raised a family in time of austerity with sweat at the boundary between the wars. I paid the union, and as times got harder, I looked to the government to help the working man. But they brought prosperity down at the armory. We're arming for peace, me boys, between the wars. I kept the faith, and I kept voting not for the iron fist grace, but for the helping hand. For theirs is a land with a wall around it, and mine is a faith in my fellow man. Theirs is a land of hope and glory. Mine is the green field and the factory floor. Theirs are the skies all dark with bombers, and mine is the peace we knew between the wars. Call up the craftsman, bring me the draftsman, build me a path from cradle to grave, and I'll give my consent to any government that does not deny a man a living wage. Go find the young men, never to fight again. Bring up the banners from the days gone by. Sweet moderation, heart of this nation, desert us not, we are between the wars.
I'm ready. Good. What was that? That was Billy Bragg, but what was the name of the song, Tony, if you got the song there? Yeah, it was Billy Bragg, but what was the album? Do you know? Between the Wars. Well, that explains everything. Okay. Is he on the line? He's on the line. We got a guy on the line. We got the set. Hello?
Yes.
All right. How are you, sir?
Pretty good.
What would you like to talk about my SDSU or what?
Well, I got I was 2003 U.S. national teacher. My name's Keith Ballard. I got my master's at San Diego State. But I'm actually working on a project where I visit the 15 highest performing PISA, the best K through 12 countries in the world, and I have 3 more to go to, and I'm going to be writing a book about this. But so I've spent significant time in Asian schools and high performing Northern European schools, and what I was going to say is that just the standards to get in a mid-tier university in most high performing countries is much higher than it would be to get into something like San Diego State. In other words, you have to really study and you have to really work because it's so competitive to get in. So I think where our kids coming from pretty mediocre educational schools, it's not real. It's much more competitive in other parts of the world than it would be at San Diego State. So.
I understand. But the issue with San Diego State is that there's a lot of outside pressure now and that was foreign students.
Sure.
So you have people, I have heard Chinese